In 1999, one of those films that has become part of the culture was released, The Sixth Sense. You remember it. "I see dead people" became the line that immediately conjures up the story of Malcolm Crowe, a child psychologist who receives an award on the same night that he is visited by a very unhappy ex-patient. After this encounter, Crowe takes on the task of curing a young boy suffering from the same ills as the ex-patient. The boy's mother is understandably concerned because he sees dead people. The story is supposedly about Crowe curing the child, when in truth it is about the child opening the eyes of Crowe to his situation. Near the end of the film, the boy tells Crowe that he is dead too. His ex-patient murdered him. He explains, "I see dead people. They don't know they're dead. They don't see each other. They only see what they want to see." Like the boy, when I look around the church, too often I see dead people who don't know they are dead. They don't know each other. And thanks to the lens of the Nicene Creed and its Trinitarian theology, see only what they want to see. They seem to see the church as the sole authority on the nature of God, relieving them and us of needing to experience God for ourselves. Well, I know not all in the church are dead in this way. I don't see many dead out here. As an institution that the Creed helped establish, I feel all too often it has lost its way, the way. I wonder if Jesus felt the same about Judaism. Did he see dead people that he wanted to bring back to life by challenging institutional requirements that blinded people to their situation? It isn't exactly a surprise, I know, to any of you who have listened to me for a while that I have a few issues with the Trinity we celebrate today. I confess that it is partly due to my perverse nature that needs to challenge blind acceptance. It makes me a little bit of a stir. I blame my father, who raised me in the Socratic method. There is always more than one truth to be argued. During my 8-year hiatus from Anglicanism, when I worked for the Unitarians, I annoyed them too by claiming to be a token Trinitarian. Now that I'm back to the Trinitarian fold, I sometimes choose to provoke with their Unitarian position. But I am more than just stirring the pot today. I do strongly believe that the Nicene Creed, the formula the Church requires us to believe about God, has become an instrument of death for the Church. I will outline some reasons in a moment, but first, that is not to say that Christianity is not Trinitarian in its structures. In fact, I agree with Dominic Crossan, who argues that not only is Christianity Trinitarian, all religions are Trinitarian. Firstly, all religions have a supreme metaphor for the ultimate. It might be nature, goddess or god, nirvana, or way. Secondly, all have physical manifestations in some person, place, or thing where the ultimate reality is met or experienced by at least one faithful believer to begin with, and later more. Thirdly, since there are both believers and non-believers in every religion, there needs to be a force to explain why some accept belief and others refuse belief. He calls this the Trinitarian loop. that is found in all religions. It is the nature of the beast. My problem is not with Christianity's Trinitarian nature, but the codification of belief about that nature. I believe that the Nicene Creed locked the Godhead into a 4th century worldview box. It turned the mystery of the ultimate into something as prosaic as a recipe for pavlova. The result may taste and look good, but there is little substance to sustain us. While the whole history of how the creeds became the creed is intriguing, for our purposes this morning, the upshot is this. Early followers of Jesus quickly began trying to understand him and his relationship to their ultimate reality, the Jewish God. It was a lively, vigorous, and sometimes violent debate in the philosophical language and worldview of the time. Different schools of thought developed in different parts of the empire, but all the questions came down to one. How is Jesus like God? When Constantine decided Christianity was his answer for gluing back his crumbling empire, he was surprised and disappointed to find that Christianity was just as fractured. He used his power to try to unify it for his political purposes. He called the Council of Nicaea to do so. While an oversimplification, the outcome was the creed became an instrument of defining who was in and who was out, who could be empowered and who could be oppressed, who is the other to be legitimately feared, scapegoated, and destroyed. It made Jesus a God-man like the emperor, when the historical Jesus, a Jew, would have found that blasphemous. He saw himself as a counterweight to oppressive human power. The creed and how it was used obliterated his whole message that confronted the purity laws of his day. The creed defined the other. Jesus saw no other. We are all one with his Abba, his metaphor for the ultimate reality. At this point, the church, I feel, lost its way, the way. It is a sad commentary that a definition of God formed at a time when people were certain the earth was the center of the universe and all the stars and planets revolved around it in perfect circles is still held as our ultimate definition and understanding of divine reality. We wouldn't go to a doctor and demand he use leeches to cure us of cancer, but it is perfectly acceptable to use 4th century language and metaphors to define who can be a priest, who can be baptized, who can receive communion, and what it means to be a Christian. It's like Galileo, Copernicus, Darwin, and the Hubble telescope never happened. Saddest of all, it is like Jesus the man never existed. The church's position on the Nicene Creed is as inexplicable to me as the mystery of the ultimate reality. Unless one understands that just as in Constantine's day, it is still about earthly power and control. The result is a dying, if not already dead, church blind to its situation.